Part C, welcome back. Part C of Your Physique, 1946 April. I just finished with what can be done for the thin man. Next is the Amazing Ed Theriault. He looks amazing, alright. Deep chest, vacuum, thick arms, thick legs. He's the Canadian Hercules. At the time, this article is by George Weider. Impossible but true is what I said to myself when I first saw the mighty Ed Theriault. No wonder certain writers of other magazines question Ed's measurements. If I had seen him and measured him myself, I too would have doubted. Below is a report by George R. Weider, who in my estimation is one of the most reliable authorities in the weightlifting game on the continent. On November 5th, Weider personally measured Theriault, and his findings are presented below. Weider's measurements are somewhat smaller than my own, but this is due, I am convinced, to the negative conditions experienced by Theriault due to the considerable amount of traveling he did during the week prior to his visit to New York. E. M. Orlick. Weider's measurements actually show that for Theriault's height, his arms are rather large. Where is it? A paragon of physical perfection, another great paragraph here. No matter from what angle you look at him, the mighty Ed Theriault stands in a class of his own. Powerful legs, massive chest, outstanding arms, tremendous back, truly a man of supernormal all-round development. According to Willoughby's formula, which is 10 times the square root of the man in question, of his weight in pounds, divided by his height in inches, if you multiply this ratio, weight over height, you square root it, if you multiply the square root of this ratio, anything over the certain measurement, which is given on page 57, I think it's over 1. Let's have a look at page 57. Whatever a certain number, but basically his plus rating is well above anyone else's, Eugene Sandow's, etc., and he's got the largest arms basically in comparison to all these old timers. And just trying to find what the actual number is. So he had huge arms for such a small person. Not quite sure what that number is. I'm not sure what that number is. But anyway, he had rather large arms. And as I said, it was the largest arms at the time of any bodybuilder. That's why they called him the Pocket Hercules, and he was number 1 on that table I just showed. Oops. Okay, the next article. Squats, and more squats. I like this article. By Barton Horvath, maybe. He describes an article here on the methods of squatting and for the different purposes one should squat, which are mass gain, strength or endurance, or all. It's an excellent article with sound advice that I myself may have to employ, and have employed actually in the past. To gain weight, the 20 rep squat breathing squat routine is recommended. So mentioned in part B of this review of this magazine, I used to weigh like 65 kilos. I'm 5'7", 5'8", or 176, 177 centimeters tall. I used to only weigh 65 kilos. I was really thin during my teens, and I desperately wanted to gain weight. And so I actually read a few books and then found Stuart McRoberts' Hard Gainer books and used his method, which was basically the 20 rep squat resume. There's an actual book online called the 20 Super Squats. It's called Super Squats, which is the original 20 rep squat routine. I did that and drank like 2 liters of milk a day, and I went up to like 90 kilos plus. And people screamed steroids at the gym. Of course, I was never on steroids and never have been. And I didn't just put muscle, I put on a bit of flab too. You can't expect that to just be muscular. It basically changes your morphology, your whole structure. You become strong, your bones become thicker, your tendons and ligaments become thicker, and you just gain weight. You become one of those big guys at school that you were jealous of. You know, you were the thin one, he was a big thick guy, the big guy that everyone wanted to be friends with. That's what you become, just a big guy. And the 20 rep squat routine is phenomenal at doing that. Anyway, you basically choose a weight that you can squat for 10 reps, and then breathing for about 3 breaths. You do another rep, and then breathe 3 reps again, and do another one until you do 10 breathing squats, and that's your 20 reps. Done, and you'll be dead after that. That's the 20 rep squat routine. And that's for gaining weight. For strength, Barton Horvath recommends, and this is only after about 2 years of experience of weightlifting and squatting, to perform a 3 rep max workout, and then a 1 rep max workout, where one increases the weight until the max weight is reached. And this is an excellent method for developing strength. This is basically similar to the 5-3-1 program that's out there nowadays. Finally, for endurance, this is more like what Tom Platz used to do. 40 to 50 rep set workouts are recommended, with as little as 50 to 70 pounds for a beginner, 100 to 125 pounds for an intermediate lifter, or 200 pounds or plus for the most advanced people. Now try do that for 50 reps, and believe me, your legs will not just explode, but you'll have huge lungs. I love this article. It's phenomenal. It's fantastic, and I'm actually going to employ it. Besides that, you are given different types of squats on your toes, flat foot on the ground, and this one is actually like a hack squat, with the knees wide apart on your toes and heels together. Brilliant. Magnificent manhood photo follows here. Sigmund Kimon Voyages. Really fantastic photo. Also here, the lifting radar. This is really another look at the muscle wars. Now, here George Weaver actually accuses the American Strength and Health magazine of misinformation. Any magazine can and does make mistakes, but to make a practice of publishing inaccuracies and falsehoods is one of the most flagrant violations of the unwritten laws of good publishing. Your Physique magazine has carried on a one-man crusade for publishing proven facts since its inception. Unfortunately, other magazines in this field do not adhere to our rigid code, and hence it is necessary for us to devote a considerable amount of space correcting their mistakes, exploiting their fallacies, and undoing the harm they do to the bodybuilding game. Below is a brief article by the eminent George R. Weaver, which bears out our steadfast desire to print the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So, I'll just jump to page 46 and read the last paragraph here. The collection of errors and false information quoted above, so basically there's a whole Strength and Health obviously printed some article with false information, and they are calling them out here on Your Physique. This last paragraph concludes this article. The collection of errors and false information quoted above is really inexcusable in a magazine that claims to give dependable information and which is edited by a man who claims to be America's leading authority in weightlifting. Namely, they don't name his name here, but namely they're talking about Bob Hoffman. What is worse is the fact that I have corrected these errors about Nordquist's errors, because that's the person in question, again and again. And once my correction was even printed in the magazine referred to. So George Weaver actually corrected and printed the correction in Strength and Health. And still its writers continue to make same old mistakes and carelessly print the same old inaccurate statements. This is not playing fair with its readers. I offer a friendly warning that such persistent carelessness and inaccuracy is giving the magazine the reputation of being a very cheap and inferior publication, la-di-da-di-da. So, I mean, I'm not one to support scandals, to be honest, or to continue with bickering. But the reason I highlight this article is because it highlights the beginnings of the muscle wars between Joe Weider and Bob Hoffman. I've mentioned in a previous video, that the new film Bigger is coming out, and you'll actually be able to probably see an insight into the muscle wars between Weider and Hoffman. Rick Wayne, who is an author and bodybuilding legend from the 60s and 70s, actually wrote a book called Muscle Wars on this particular subject, which I have yet to own a copy and really am wanting one. I want to read this book. I've already mentioned the topic of Dan Lurie and John Grimmick in this series of videos on 1946 Your Physique April, and in the previous Your Physique. It is very obvious that Grimmick's outrageous and vilified remarks towards Lurie in response to Dan Lurie's challenge, which were published in Strength and Health, already demonstrate Hoffman's despise of Joe Weider and his associates, including Dan Lurie. If you really wish to read more about the war between Weider and Hoffman, I encourage it that you get yourself a copy of Muscle Wars. I know I will in the future. I hope that one day I actually do have the chance to be able to read and compare Strength and Health with Your Physique, because I'm pretty sure that this would be a really entertaining topic to address. Unfortunately, there's still much more I wish to talk about, so there'll be a part D in this series of Your Physique 1946 April magazine. I'll come back with the last video now. Thank you for paying attention and for watching the video. Thank you.